Is there any pride in the uniform that they wear? How could there be? Increasingly, they look not like citizens in uniform. They've nothing to do with Sir Robert Peel, but a fascist paramilitary militia, with all the paraphernalia of repression dangling about them, which fortunately many of them are too fat to use. They have taken the general confession of the Book of Common Prayer: we have left undone those things which we ought to have done, and we have done those things which we ought not to have done. They've taken this not as a confession, but as a blueprint. And I must say that for once in our fatuous target-setting culture, they seem to have succeeded in this. Not surprisingly, given the official guidance given them. I'll here quote the guidance on what is called non-crime hate incident. A non-crime hate incident, NCHI, means an incident or alleged incident which involves or is alleged to involve an act by a person, the subject, which is perceived by a person other than the subject to be motivated wholly or partly by hostility or prejudice towards persons with a particular characteristic. Well, where is the free-born Englishman in all this? In what kind of country is an alleged incident an incident? Moreover, one that deserves the attention of a policeman, and in which any perception, no matter how unjustified or even mad, is worthy of being taken as evidence. Our architecture is totalitarian. The totalitarian leanings, both of communist and fascist, of the founders of modernist architecture are insufficiently appreciated or understood. And now our police are being expected to become totalitarian too. The words that I have quoted from the official guidance on non-crime hate incidents did not write themselves. Indeed, I suspect that ChatGPT would have done a better job. Goodness knows how many urgent meetings, how many years of education were necessary to produce them. I should be ashamed to be in charge of an organization that could produce such an appalling, vicious, dangerous document that will and is intended to turn us into a nation either of eggshells or of snitches or both. This has been promulgated under a conservative government which ought to be ashamed of itself. It's not as if there were not enough crimes for the police to be getting on with. 5.3 million of them, in fact, last year in England and Wales, of which a princely 5.6% ended in a charge, not necessarily a conviction. And this figure is hardly surprising, given the enormous efforts the police go to, which I have witnessed myself, or which are imposed on them by officialdom, to avoid doing anything. An elderly friend of mine was recently the object of a crime that could easily have ended in his death. The efforts made by the police not to clear up or even to record this crime were comical in their Byzantine complexity, involving many police departments with names that conveyed no meaning to normal citizens. If there were any justice in the world, many of our police, especially our senior police officers, would be arrested for wasting police time. This particular pathology, this making work while avoiding work at the same time, and even preventing work, it sometimes seems as if we're looking through the looking glass. A world in which, for example, the police protect our feelings but not our property, are shepherds to us all but indifferent to wolves.